A Queensland housing shortage. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee, let's look at this article from ABC News. So housing in regional Queensland is scarce due to interstate migration, remote work and returning Aussies. Now we're hearing this more and more, that, well, in some of the regions, people are having trouble even just finding rentals because just the demand is so high. Maybe people want to get out of the southern states, and if you're going to be locked down in your house, at least have nice weather and a bit of a yard. And, well, the perception is always going to be that our housing up here is going to be more affordable for people from Sydney and Melbourne, because sadly their anchor prices that they've been conditioned to are so bloody high that, you know, a place for 500 grand might seem like a steal for them. High rental demand and property prices are music to the ears of landlords and property owners. But if you're looking for a place to live in Queensland at the moment, there's a good chance you are struggling to find what you're after. The Real Estate Institute of Queensland reported that for the December quarter, 90% of regional Queensland dipped to a new record low of just 0.575% rental vacancy. That means for every 10,000 rental properties, just 57 were available. And coastal parts of Queensland continue to report strong sales figures. Coastal parts of Queensland, where we have entire parts of the state with businesses in the tourist sector that are struggling. Why is this happening? Is it just people are migrating from other parts of the country? Is it because people can now work remotely? So they're thinking, you know what, I'll work on the sunny coast. I'll go to Brisbane maybe once a fortnight if I need to, and I'll work from there. You can get good property. Compared to what I'm paying for here in Brisbane for a little tiny place, you can get a big block, big, room to breathe, land, up north, a bit further away. Professor Sean Bond from the University of Queensland Business School said the housing pressure was driven by record interstate migration and adoption of remote working arrangements and the return of hundreds of thousands of Australian expatriates. Well, I'm a Mexican. We came from Victoria. We used to go to holiday to Queensland 3 times a year, and we ended up migrating up here. Considering what's happened to Victoria, I'm quite glad we did. I went down there years ago for a conference, and I remember I rang up my mother and I said, why did we ever leave Melbourne? It's so fantastic. There's so much going on. Then the next day it just rained and rained. And I rang up and I said, yep, now I know why we left. Interstate migration is 90% above the decade average. Wow. Heather Robertson moved to Cairns from Melbourne between lockdowns last year for the tropical lifestyle and reduced traffic of far north Queensland. I actually visited Cairns 2 or 3 years ago on a holiday, and as soon as I came here, it just felt like home, she said. I actually wanted to move in February-March last year. I was a few days away from leaving for my road trip to come up here, and the borders shut, so I had to delay my departure. So I was just waiting in Melbourne with the rest of the world, with the rest of Australia, to see what the COVID situation was going to do. Ms. Robertson finally moved in June and sought to set up a healing business from her new home, but has found securing a property of her own to work from and live has been a challenge. I share a house at the moment. I live with 2 other people because that's the only thing I can afford, she said. I would love to live on my own, have my own 2-bedroom place that I can work from and live in. Unfortunately, that's not financial reality for me at the moment. So how many of these people are going to wind up there and can't find work or can't start a business? This is going to be interesting to see how the future goes for far north Queensland, everyone. Mass migration. Ms. Robinson is one of many people who have decided to make the move north during the pandemic. Research by CoreLogic suggests that more than 25,000 people have moved to Queensland during the past financial year, with the rate of interstate migration last year 90% above the decade average. Professor Bond said remote work arrangements have made it possible for people to move away, and many are choosing regional Queensland. People started to think about what they wanted to be, where they wanted to be, and to some extent, if you aren't required to go into the office, it is much nicer being in a coastal location, Cairns, the Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast, rather than being stuck in inner city Melbourne in a small apartment, he said. We're getting the double whammy of people moving to Queensland, but we're also seeing there's a lot of focus on people not being in capital cities. So people are moving to regional areas, which is a reversal of the situation this time last year. We're seeing both in terms of infrastructure and supply of available properties that's put a lot of demand on the rental market as well as the purchase market. People are trying to buy properties. In fact, one of the things that's pushing rental prices up is that many landlords have chosen to sell because the market is so strong, and they've chosen this opportunity to sell their property that reduces the supply of rental properties available. A transformative time. Professor Bond said there is great opportunity for the population boost to improve services in regional areas. Or maybe it will just result in greater strain on the services in the regional areas. You've got to remember, guys, Queensland stops at North Brisbane. That's all Queensland is, the southeast coast. At least it feels like that to some of the people living in the regions. At least the attention they get from the government. Unless an election is around, then you get a free sports stadium. So, will the regions have the amenities? Will they be able to increase their infrastructure to make it attractive for people to remain in the area, he said. There's certainly the potential for extra business centres to develop around the state, and that could have a lasting impact if it sticks. This could be a very transformative time for regions. So 450,000 Aussies returned during the pandemic. Professor Bond said that other factor driving housing pressure was the number of Australians returning from overseas with the pandemic and the small number leaving. The Department of Foreign Affairs reports that more than 450,000 Australians returned since the travel warnings were issued in March last year. Business analyst Brad Thatcher moved to the UK 24 years ago and has been considering moving home for some time. But the idea became a reality during the pandemic. Mr. Thatcher, his wife and 2 children sold up their home in Essex before flying to Australia in November and entering hotel quarantine. Since they arrived back in Australia, the family has been house hunting near Miss Thatcher's family home on the Sunshine Coast and living with his sister in the meantime. He said they had placed offers on multiple homes on the coast, but none had been successful. Even when we were in quarantine, we were looking at properties online. We were making some calls, and it sort of became apparent that as soon as these properties were being listed, they were literally being sold and taken off the market, Mr. Thatcher said. On Sunday, we put an offer in on a house, and literally 30 minutes later, we were phoned back saying, look, we've had a cash buyer come in from Sydney who exceeded our offer, and it's off the market. There you go, guys. That's the thing. Queensland is going to appear affordable to people from Melbourne and Sydney, and that's going to drive the property prices up here. The place across the street from me is just sold. I'll be interested to see what they let it go for. Because, well, it was a deceased estate, and the son wanted to get out of there, and the sister wasn't living there, and they wanted it gone. So it was a nice little block. Be interesting to see. Because, remember, it's the last property that's sold in your street that affects the price of your house, not the media. So, absurd growth. The family's possessions are expected to be delivered on Tuesday 3 months after they left the UK, but they do not have a home to put them in yet. Last June, the REIQ reported absurd growth in the Sunshine Coast property market, with the median house price rising 1.7% to $605,000. Similar growth is being seen on the Gold Coast. It's just going crazy. Professor Bond said the Thatchers are likely competing against people in a similar position to themselves, given the number of Australians returning home. When we think about what's happening in Queensland, it's not just the competition for buyers downsizing from Sydney or Melbourne, but it's also people who have downsized from San Francisco or London as well. Professor Bond questioned with the imminent rollout of vaccines across Australia whether the boom would continue. At the moment, while everyone is comfortable with Zoom, a lot of meetings are conducted online now, but 2 years from now, will there be pressure to be back sitting around the table with your colleagues, he said. I think it will. I honestly think we're going to see some changes. We're going to see more flexibility in our working. But there really is something different about having a face-to-face meeting, about making a deal, about presenting in person, about shaking someone's hand when you've made an agreement. You don't necessarily want to be the only one on the video call when everyone else is sitting around the conference room. Good point. So there we have it, everyone. A property boom in regional Queensland. We're still more affordable than other states, although $600,000 for a place up on the sunny coast, what's going on there? It's starting to get a bit high. What do you reckon, guys? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Do you think this will keep going? Or do you think it'll eventually peter out? Or are you looking for something in the region? Can you find it? What about Toowoomba? It's nice there. A little bit cold. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and enjoy the content I create here, there are a few ways you can support us. You can join the channel on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links from Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. You can buy merch from HeiseSays or Teespring, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. You can also join SelfWealth with our referral link, and you will get 5 free share trades, and so will I. Thank you very much. Take care, guys. Have a great day. I'll see you next time.